Good afternoon, and welcome to the Way of Salvation Presents. I just had a break to where it was like, should I start this video over or should I just correct myself? So I'm going to correct myself this time. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Way of Salvation Christian Church Presents the 1-year chronological Bible 365-day reading plan brought to you by Tyndale House Publishers. I am Minister Jewett Peterson, and today is October 22nd, and we'll be reading day 65 of the 1-year chronological Bible. And day 65 consists of Numbers 22, Numbers 23, and Numbers 24. And we'll be reading from the New Living Translation. Numbers 22, verse 1. Balak sends for Balaam. Then the people of Israel traveled to the plains of Moab and camped east of the Jordan River, across from Jericho. Balak, son of Zippor, the Moabite king, had seen everything the Israelites did to the Amorites. And when the people of Moab saw how many Israelites there were, they were terrified. The king of Moab said to the elders of Midian, "This mob will devour everything in sight like an ox devours grass in the field." So Balak, king of Moab, sent messengers to call Balaam, son of Beor, who was living in his native land of Pithor, near the Euphrates River. His message said, "Look, a vast horde of people have arrived from Egypt. They cover the face of the earth and are threatening me. Please come and curse these people for me because they are too powerful for me. Then perhaps I will be able to conquer them and drive them from the land. I know that blessings fall on any people you bless and curses fall on people you curse." Balak's messengers were verse 7. Balak's messengers, who were elders of Moab and Midian, set out with money to pay Balaam to place a curse upon Israel. They went to Balaam and delivered Balak's message to him. "Stay here overnight," Balaam said. "In the morning I will tell you whatever the Lord directs me to say." So the officials from Moab stayed there with Balaam. That night, God came to Balaam and asked him, "Who are these men visiting you?" You know what? We're going to write a question down. We're going to ask, what was Balaam's error? What was Balaam's error in going? He asked first before he went. We're going to ask this question to God because we're going to ask him for an answer. Because I want to know, when we read this story, you'll see that Balaam asked twice. He asked before he went the first time, and then when God said no, he sent them away. And then he asked the second time when they came back. Now, was it the fact that he asked again and God had already said no? Well, we got the question and answer. God had already said no. There were no need to ask again. we take God as human in asking the same thing multiple times, but God is not a man. When he answers, there is no need to continue asking. And in this instance, continuing to ask means the first answer wasn't good enough, and now you are wanting God to not bless Israel. Now you are one with Balak. Well, got the answer right away. So this is, I just feel compelled to do this today. But the question was, what was Balaam's error in going? He asked first before he went, both times. And the answer, God had already said no. There was no need to ask again. We take God as human and ask him the same things multiple times, but God is not a man. When he answers, there is no need to continue answering. Now, this is an ad lib. So basically, if I'm living in bad conditions and I'm asking for a better house, a better condition, and it doesn't come today. So I ask tomorrow. It doesn't come tomorrow, and I ask tomorrow, right? That's different because God didn't answer. But say I ask for better conditions, and then God says, no, I'm not going to give you better conditions to live in because, just because, there's no need to ask again. He already said no. Now, would God tell me that he's not going to give me better living conditions? You see what I'm saying? So then we got to think about the character of God. Would that be his answer to us? You get what I'm saying? So, that's different because I don't think God will say, no, I'm not giving you better living conditions. So let's change it. So God wouldn't say no to that answer. He might say, okay, but then there's no need to ask again because it's coming. Just be patient, it's coming. But let's take a bad situation, who I would call a bad situation of when he asked the guy to go marry a prostitute, Gomer. Forgot who it was who he asked to go marry a prostitute. It was a prophet, though. And he went to go marry a prostitute. And what if the guy had said, hey, God, I don't want to marry a prostitute. Is this your voice? Is this you telling me to do this? Because this ain't something that I think would come from you because you want me to have the best wife that I could be. But then that ain't how God told him, though. So God had already gave him his answer. He told him, go marry a prostitute because I'm going to show the children of Israel how they are. Now, we would have to go read that story again, but I'm sure the story lines up with what I'm saying here, that when we add, anyway, that's asking for something anyway. You know, that's asking for something to better yourself, to better your living situation. But this is something that someone's coming to him to ask him to curse these people. So back to, I'm off the ad lib. And in this instance, continuing to ask means the first answer wasn't good enough, and now you are wanting God to not bless Israel. Now you are one with Balak. So basically, him going back to ask, God done already said no, right? So whenever they come, he's supposed to keep saying no, you know, figure something else out. Because in going back and answering, you're saying that you already got an answer. It's either yes or no, right? If I come to you and I ask you something and you say yes, or some water. If I come to you and I ask you for some water and you say yes, and you give me the water, I'm not going to come back again and ask for water, unless in case I want some more water, but I'm not going to come back to get a no. I got the answer I wanted. So I'm going to go get this water before I come back to ask you. You see what I'm saying? So when I ask you a question, it's either yes or no. You know what I'm saying? The no, when he said no, don't go because these people are blessed. I blessed them. So God already told him the answer. He told him what he did. For him to come back, now he's saying that wasn't good enough. I need something else. But the only other thing is to curse him. You get what I'm saying? So now he's one with Balak because now he didn't ask again to the same question, and the first answer wasn't good enough. And he became one with Balak. Instead of when that second contingent came and said, come with us, he should have told them no as well. God blessed those people. You're wasting your time trying to curse them. There's no, and just because I'm not going to do it, don't mean you should go find somebody else who will, because God has already blessed them. So there's no need for us to see what God has to say, because God had already said what he had to say. And I think this comes at a good time, because it's like with marriage. God laid an outline for marriage. And then it's like when people go outside of that, you know what I'm saying? Even though it's not a listed commandment that you should have one wife, but God said it, and that's how it should be. Simple as that. It's not, God's not going to constantly, like, is it okay now, God, for me to take another wife? No, it's never, it is what it is. No, one man, one woman. You know what I'm saying? It's never going to change. God doesn't change. So now let's get back to the reading. We're going to start off at Numbers chapter 22. And we're going to go with verse 7. Balak messengers, who were elders of Moab and Midian, set out with money to pay Balaam to place a curse upon Israel. They went to Balaam and delivered Balak's message to him. Stay here overnight, Balaam said. In the morning I will tell you whatever the Lord directs me to say. So the officials from Moab stayed there with Balaam. That night God came to Balaam and asked him, who are these men visiting you? Balaam said to God, Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab, has sent me this message. Look, a vast horde of people have arrived from Israel, and they cover the face of the earth. Come and curse these people for me, then perhaps I will be able to stand up to them and drive them from the land. But God told Balaam, do not go with them. You are not to curse these people, for they have been blessed. The next morning, Balaam got up and told Balak's officials, go on home. The Lord will not let me go with you. So the Moabite officials returned to King Balak and reported, Balaam refused to come with us. Then Balak tried again. This time he sent a larger number of even more distinguished officers than those he had sent the first time. They went to Balaam and delivered this message to him. This is what Balak, son of Zippor, says. Please don't let anything stop you from coming to help me. I will pay you very well and do whatever you tell me. Just come and curse these people for me. But Balaam responded to Balak's messengers. Even if Balak were to give me his palace filled with silver and gold, I would be powerless to do anything against the will of the Lord my God. But stay here one more night, and I will see if the Lord has anything else to say to me. That night God came to Balaam and told him, since these men have come for you, get up and go with them, but do only what I tell you to do. Balaam and his donkey. So the next morning, Balaam got up, saddled his donkey, and started off with the Moabite officials. Verse 22. But God was angry that Balaam was going, so he sent the angel of the Lord to stand in the road to block his way. As Balaam and 2 servants were riding along, Balaam's donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand. The donkey bolted off the road into a field, but Balaam beat it and turned it back onto the road. Then the angel of the Lord stood at the place where the road narrowed between 2 vineyard walls. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it tried to squeeze by and crush Balaam's foot against the wall. So Balaam beat the donkey again. Then the angel of the Lord moved further down the road and stood in a place too narrow for the donkey to get by at all. This time, when the donkey saw the angel, it lay down under Balaam. In a fit of rage, Balaam beat the animal again with his staff. Then the Lord gave the donkey the ability to speak. What have I done to you that deserves your beating me 3 times? It asked Balaam. You have made me look like a fool, Balaam shouted. If I had a sword with me, I would kill you. But I am the same donkey you have ridden all your life, the donkey answered. Have I ever done anything like this before? No, Balaam admitted. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the roadway with a drawn sword in his hand. Balaam bowed his head and fell face down on the ground before him. Why did you beat your donkey those 3 times? The angel of the Lord demanded. Look, I have come to block your way because you are stubbornly resisting me. 3 times the donkey saw me and shied away. Otherwise, I would certainly have killed you by now and spared the donkey. Then Balaam confessed to the angel of the Lord, I have sinned. I didn't realize you were standing in the road to block my way. I will return home if you are against my going. But the angel of the Lord told Balaam, go with these men, but say only what I tell you to say. So Balaam went on with Balak's officials. When King Balak heard that Balaam was on the way, he went out to meet him at a Moabite town on the Arnon River at the furthest border of his land. Didn't I send you an urgent invitation? Why didn't you come right away? Balak asked Balaam. Didn't you believe me when I said I would reward you richly? Balaam replied, look, now I have come, but I have no power to say whatever I want. I will speak only the message that God puts in my mouth. Then Balaam accompanied Balak to Kiriath-Hozah, where the king sacrificed cattle and sheep. He sent portions of the meat to Balaam and the officials who were with him. The next morning, Balak took Balaam up to Bamoth Baal. From there, he could see some of the people of Israel spread out below him. Chapter 23. Balaam blesses Israel. Verse 1. Then Balaam said to King Balak, build me 7 altars here and prepare 7 young bulls and 7 rams for me to sacrifice. Balak followed his instructions, and the 2 of them sacrificed a young bull and a ram on each altar. Then Balaam said to Balak, stand here by your burnt offering, and I will go to see if the Lord will respond to me. Then I will tell you whatever he reveals to me. So Balaam went along to the top of a bare hill, and God met him there. Balaam said to him, I have prepared 7 altars and have sacrificed the young bull and the ram on each altar. The Lord gave Balaam a message for King Balak. Then he said, go back to Balaam, give him my message. So Balaam returned and found the king standing beside his burnt offerings with all the officials of Moab. This was the message Balaam delivered. Balak summoned me to come from Aram. The king of Moab brought me from the eastern hills. Come, he said, curse Jacob for me. Come and announce Israel's doom. But how can I curse those whom God has not cursed? How can I condemn those whom the Lord has not condemned? I see them from the cliff tops. I watch them from the hills. I see a people who live by themselves, set apart from other nations. Who can count Jacob's descendants as numerous as dust? Who can count even a fourth of Israel's people? Let me die like the righteous. Let my life end like theirs. Then King Balak demanded of Balaam, what have you done to me? I brought you to curse my enemies. Instead, you have blessed them. But Balaam replied, I will speak only the message that the Lord puts in my mouth. Balaam's second message, verse 13. Then King Balak told him, come with me to another place. There you will see another part of the nation of Israel, but not all of them. Curse at least that many. So Balak took Balaam to the plateau of Zophim on Pisgah's peak. He built 7 altars there and offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Then Balaam said to the king, stand here by your burnt offerings while I go over there to meet the Lord. And the Lord met Balaam and gave him a message. Then he said, go back to Balak and give him my message. So Balaam returned and found the king standing beside his burnt offerings with all the officials of Moab. What did the Lord say? Balak asked eagerly. This was the message Balaam delivered. Rise up, Balak, and listen. Hear me, son of Zippor. God is not a man, so he does not lie. He is not human, so he does not change his mind. Has he ever spoken and failed to act? Has he ever promised and not carried it through? Listen, I received the command to bless God. Listen, I received the command to bless. God has blessed, and I cannot reverse it. No misfortune is in his plan for Jacob. No trouble is in store for Israel. For the Lord their God is with them. He has been proclaimed their king. God brought them out of Egypt. For them, he is as strong as a wild ox. No curse can touch Jacob. No magic has any power against Israel. For now it will be said of Jacob, what wonders God has done for Israel. These people rise up like a lioness, like a majestic lion rousing itself. They refuse to rest until they have feasted on prey, drinking the blood of the slaughter. Then Balak said to Balaam, fine, if you won't curse them, at least don't bless them. But Balaam replied to Balak, didn't I tell you that I can only do what the Lord tells me? Balaam's third message, verse 27. Then King Balak said to Balaam, come, I will take you to one more place. Perhaps it will please God to let you curse them from there. So Balak took Balaam to the top of Mount Peor, overlooking the wasteland. Balaam again told Balak, build me 7 altars and prepare 7 young bulls and 7 rams for me to sacrifice. So Balak did as Balaam ordered and offered a young bull and a ram on each altar. Chapter 24. By now, Balaam realized that the Lord was determined to bless Israel. So he did not resort to divination as before. Instead, he turned and looked out toward the wilderness, where he saw the people of Israel camped, tribe by tribe. Then the Spirit of God came upon him, and this is the message he delivered. This is the message of Balaam, son of Beor, the message of the man whose eyes could see clearly, the message of one who hears the words of God, who sees a vision from the Almighty, who bows down with eyes wide open. How beautiful are your tents, O Jacob! How lovely are your homes, O Israel! They spread before me like palm groves, like gardens by the riverside. They are like tall trees planted by the Lord, like cedars beside the waters. Water will flow from their buckets. Their offspring have all they need. Their king will be greater than Agag. Their kingdom will be exalted. God brought them out of Egypt. For them he is as strong as a wild ox. He devours all the nations that oppose him, breaking their bones in pieces, shooting them with arrows. Like a lion, Israel crouches and lies down like a lioness who dares to arouse her. Blessed is everyone who blesses you, O Israel, and cursed is everyone who curses you. King Balak flew into a rage against Balaam. He angrily clapped his hands and shouted, I called you to curse my enemies. Instead, you have blessed them 3 times. Now get out of here. Go back home. I promised to reward you richly, but the Lord has kept you from your reward. Balaam told Balak, don't you remember what I told your messengers? I said, even if Balak were to give me his palace filled with silver and gold, I would be powerless to do anything against the will of the Lord. I told you that I could only say what the Lord says. Now I am returning to my own people. But first, let me tell you what the Israelites will do to your people in the future. Balaam's final message, verse 15. This is the message Balaam delivered. This is the message of Balaam, son of Beor. The message of the man whose eyes see clearly. The message of one who hears the words of God, who has knowledge from the Most High, who sees a vision from the Almighty, and who bows down with eyes wide open. I see him, but not here and now. I perceive him, but far in the distant future. A star will rise from Jacob. A scepter will emerge from Israel. It will crush the foreheads of Moab's people, cracking the skulls of the people of Sheth. Edom will be taken over, and Seir, its enemy, will be conquered, while Israel marches on in triumph. A ruler will rise in Jacob, who will destroy the survivors of Ir. Then Balaam looked over toward the people of Amalek and delivered this message. Amalek was the greatest of nations, but his destiny is destruction. Then he looked over toward the Canaanites and delivered this message. Your home is secure, your nest is set in the rocks, but the Canaanites will be destroyed when Assyria takes you captive. Balaam concluded his messages by saying, alas, who can survive unless God has willed it? Ships will come from the coast of Cyprus. They will oppress Assyria and afflict Eber, but they too will be utterly destroyed. Then Balaam and Balak returned to their homes. May the Lord have a rich blessing to the reading, hearing, and doing of his word.